we have Unforgotten Memories from the Halo 2 Anniversary original soundtrack from the Halo team. Once again, everybody, this is a Basterd's LFA, a layman-friendly analysis. I am a professionally trained musician and a composer, and I aim to explain things so that you don't have to be a professionally trained musician to understand what is happening here musically. So if you like that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, following the channel, or whatever term you want to use. Like the video and share the video. Keep in mind, this was recorded live on stream, and we're doing this all in one take. So I will be pausing a lot as I explain things as I hear them. So let's do this. Unforgotten Memories. Let's go. Ooh. 6 seconds in, we get what I think is the violas and the bassi. The bassi, of course, being... Oh, I forgot to delete this from the previous one. I always forget to delete these from the previous one. It's an emotional one. I love it. So, bassi is an older term that means cellos plus double basses. Double basses, contrabasses, same thing. I think that's what's going on here. We have the violas, we have the double basses, and we are doing a beautiful bit of counterpoint between the two. Counterpoint, of course, being when you have multiple melodies that could work well independently, that are put to work together. Excuse me. And in this case, we have this very beautiful melody, and of course we have our motif, our initial motif, given to us by the violas. Very unusual thing to do, to select the melody to be in the violas. I personally, as a composer, I love the viola. It's a very versatile instrument, and it has such a cool, lovely tone, and it is just beautiful. However, most composers will prefer something like the violin because, you know, it's violin. So, yeah, we have this very warm, very slow intro to what is happening, and it's very common for emotional tracks to be slower in that way. So yeah, we're in for a treat. Let's hear it. So yeah, a small variation of the motif. Okay, so we just had this opening section giving us this absolutely beautiful melody, which had a lot of development to it. So we had the initial motif, then we had a small variation that had a bigger leap, because our motif here has been... I usually use shapes to understand a motif. So we had, you know, this note being held, then we had a big leap, and then we come down a little bit, and maybe a little bit back up. And what we did for the development here, first time was that. Second time, same melody, but we jumped a little bit higher, and we kept that same shape. Then we started from a different spot, doing the same shapes over and over, doing similar variations of the shape. And this is how you develop a motif into a full-blown melody. What a beautiful start for the track. Let's see where this goes. We add one more. I hear a French horn. And I hear a French horn, and I love the French horn. And something about the French horn, it's that it's technically a brass instrument. And the thing about brass instruments, as I've said it many times before, it's a very risky instrument to use because they are very loud. You have brass being the most common ones is trumpets, trombones, and tubas. And the problem with those, it's not really a problem, it's a challenge, is that they are loud. They are really, really loud. And they are so easy, it's so easy to overpower an entire orchestra with that. And then you have the French horn. The French horn is the only brass instrument that you can really play quietly. And we had that. We had this chord, and we included that sense of the French, that French horn over there. And something I love about the French horn is that the French horn has this very royal sound to it. And I know we call it the French horn. It's usually a horn in F, but I think the French are the ones who came up with the current valve system that it has. Because most of the brass instruments are literally a very long pipe. You know, usually you will have your, let's say, this would be the trumpet. Usually you would need this much piping to play whatever you have. And what you do with brass is you literally just take the pipe and you just wrap it on itself. You wrap it on itself, and then you make the instrument like that. So it's the same length of pipe, you just bend it over, phrasing. And then nowadays we have valve systems. And the valve systems are there to artificially change the length of the brass of the pipes, because the way brass instruments work is that you use the harmonic series, which means you will have a certain length of pipe, and when you play the instrument, you will only be able to play in the frequency that the length of the pipe allows, using the harmonic series. The harmonic series is when you have a, let's say this is our audio wave, and if you cut the audio wave in a certain point, you will get a different note. So the first time, if you cut that in half, it's an eighth. Then if you cut it again, it's a fifth. Then if you cut it again, it's another eighth, and then a third, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like slamming PVC, but, you know, a lot more complex, a lot more expensive too. So what you do is that you have a fundamental note, and then you say you play on top of that, and you do the harmonic series. It's the same with throat singing, with overtone singing, because that's what you're doing. For example, I'm gonna play a fundamental, ooh, and I'm gonna do the overtones. So you can hear those overtones going up there. It's the same principle with the trumpets. The problem is that the note that you get as your fundamental is dictated by the length of the pipe. So what trumpets do is that the valves change the length of the pipe to give you the different fundamental notes. And that's it. Like that, combined with how high or how low you play from this side, then you get a different note depending on which valve you are pressing. It's a very, very complex instrument. And then you have, of course, the tuba, which the tubas, as opposed to the trumpets, is that the tuba, you have this bit over here, and then the pipe cuts over here. Then you have the horn part of it, and then you have the slider that you move up and down to, instead of using the valves, you slide up and down the tuba. That's why sometimes you will see a trombone. You will see a trombone playing a scale like ba 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 ba, and you will see the guy going from top to bottom, like he's gonna look like he's doing a freaking backwards bow and arrow. That's because of how the pipes work, and how the amount of air is going to give him a different fundamental, and from the different fundamental you're going to pick the different note that you're choosing, and then after the air goes through the entirety of the pipe, then you get your note out of the other end. It's a very complex thing, and the difference with a French horn is that the French horn is made like a swirl, and the pipe system is built a little bit different. The valve system is a little bit different, and as opposed to the other ones, the French horn is built to have a way bigger mouthpiece and everything. And as opposed to the trombones that you usually have them facing forward, the French horn, you have it facing backwards. Usually when it comes to trumpets, the end faces forward. Trombone, the end faces forward. The tuba, it faces upward, and with the French horn, it faces down and back, which gives you a very, very different angle for everything, and it gives you other options for how gentle you can be and everything. And then there's, of course, the fact that with the French horn, as opposed to the trumpet, you can more easily put your hand in there, which is a genuine technique that French horns use. Point being, you can play it very, very quietly, surprisingly quiet. You can't play it as quiet as like a violin, but it can be fairly quiet, and it gives you a way warmer tone. Like usually when you have a trumpet or a trombone or a tuba, it's a very loud, very bombastic, very militaristic sound. But with the French horn, you can get a very nice warm tone out of it. You got nice quotes. So, here we go, back again. Now the French horn is a little bit louder this time around. Such a beautiful instrument. With some of the motif. Switch over to piano, okay. Piano arpeggiating, and now, there you go. We have a variation of the motif now being played on the high end of the piano. We started with the motif nice and low on the lower end of the strings. Very beautiful. We kept the overall shape of the melody, but now we added, first we reduced we reduced the motif. Again, elongation and reduction. Elongation is when you take something and you make it longer proportionally, and now we took the same thing, the motif that we had at the start, and we reduced it to be shorter. Because when it started with the violas, that very long, beautiful way up and back down, now we did it in about a second. It took about 3 seconds before, 3-4 seconds, now it takes about a second with the piano. And that is a very good way of making contrast. Again, we just went from section A to probably section B. And usually when you go from section A to section B, you want some sort of contrast. Something just brushed against I think it was my hair. And when you have that kind of contrast, you don't want it to be too much of something completely different. Like, you don't want to completely abandon the ideas that you just had, which is a mistake a lot of composers make. A lot of songwriters and everything, they try to come up with completely unrelated ideas and completely unrelated motifs, and instead of developing what they already had. And this can result a lot of the times in your pieces or your songs sounding disjointed because of that, because there is not that much of a link tying you from it. Which is why usually you want to keep something common between sections A and B. Between one section or another, you want to keep something that overlaps between them. In this case, it is the same motif. It's a reduced version of the motif, but it's the same motif. We went from this very royal, majestic, grandiose, very solemn ensemble with the string orchestra and the French horn to just the piano. So we have reduced the scale of our ensemble, but we have kept the same motif. Let's see where this goes. That right there that we just heard is a very specific, very, very specific motif. This is a musical cliche called a sigh motif. If I could type, that would be great. A sigh motif is what we just heard. Bum bum, bum bum. This is a very specific type of motif, and it's exactly that. Because it musically is the equivalent of sighing. It has that sense of musically. You want to give a sense of just that kind of relief, you do a sigh motif, which is literally the scale just going down and holding, just letting you hold that and soak it in. The sigh motif, it's the first time we encounter it so blatantly in it lets you sink in. It lets everything sink in. So, it's giving us some time to completely, and now we bring both together. Oh, yes. And of course, the piano is doing an arpeggiation, and we did just something beautiful. The reason there was so much space between the motifs in the first part is because the piano was gonna take it afterwards. The quotes never stop. God damn it. Now we're playing both together, which is something I love doing. I love doing this. Mozart loved doing this. Every composer should try this at one time. This thing has two overall tracks going on. We have the tracks with the strings, and we have the track with the piano. And these were all composed together. And what do you do to make them last longer and give them more dramatic effect? You play the string one first, you play the piano second, and then you play them both together for number 3. And it sounds so beautiful. But this is no mistake. This piece was most likely composed with this whole ensemble together. And then we split them up side by side and everything. LFA, full time without pausing. We can't do that because of copyright. Sadly, that is not an option. By the way, this is clarification. That is not an option. That's copyright. We lose fair use claims if we do that. I would do it, yeah. But yeah, I know you can hear it. Now it's playing the whole thing. Little variation there for the likely outro. Let's see how this escalates. It repeats, yep. Oh, it brings that with the French horn. It is amazing how little this French horn is playing. The French horn is playing 3 notes. It's playing half of the motif. The French horn is only playing the way up for the motif. Like this motif. Don't forget, the motif was way up, then landing again. The French horn is playing only the first part. And it is, because it's French, I know, right? And it is so powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And then we end the track. Oh my god, that was beautiful. Structurally speaking, this was very clever. Structurally, we had the A section with the string orchestra. Then we had a somewhat short B section with the piano solo. So we had A section which was 2 parts. We had the string orchestra, and then we had the string orchestra plus the horn. That was part 2. Then part B was the piano. And then we had A prime, which was the same thing as before, but we had plus piano. A very, very, very simple, straightforward use of form, a very straightforward use of ensemble, and oh my god, was it powerful. It gave me the chills to hear that French horn. Very, very powerful use of very simple, and the whole thing was playing the same motif in small variations over and over and over again. It is insane how good this was. So there you have it. That was Unforgotten Memories from the Halo 2 Anniversary original soundtrack, composed by Paul Lipson? Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori. Adopted and orchestrated by Paul Lipson, Lenny Moore, Tom Salta, Brian Triffon, and Brian Lee White. What a beautiful piece. But there you go. There you have it. Really good stuff. Once again, everybody, this has been an LFA, a Basterd's LFA layman-friendly analysis. I am a professionally trained musician, and I hope that I have explained things in a way that you don't have to be a professionally trained musician to understand what happened in this piece. So if you're watching this on the YouTube recording, Make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow, all that good stuff. These are recorded live on stream, so if you want to catch the streams, check out the Twitch channel, the Discord. That's where the schedules are. Follow the live stream channels and all that good stuff. And if you want to request a song and you're not watching this on the live stream, just leave a comment with what track from what game you want me to do. Game soundtracks only, original soundtracks only. And there you go. There you go. There you have it. That was Unforgotten Memories from the Halo 2 soundtrack. Really cool. Really cool. But yeah, let's move on.